Good morning, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving Eve. Your uncle's here. That you damn right. And I hope some of y'all got today off from work. If not, I hope I can keep you entertained for the next 30 to 40 minutes or whatever. We got to talk about your Texas Longhorns game on Friday. Big game on Friday. The only game that matters in Longhorn Nation. So make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. We got a lot to unpack today. There's a lot of stuff to discuss. Stay warm out there. It's chilly. It's chilly outside, man. Hey, you know what? It's always crazy like that, man, because I feel like anytime I buy tickets to go to Mozart's, it's, a little coffee thing where they have a little light show. I feel like anytime I try to do that, that's the day it absolutely starts freezing. Why was it not yesterday? Anyway, college football playoff rankings came out last night, and I know Longhorn Nation, there's a lot to discuss. I know some of you are mad, fed up about the whole situation. We're going to unpack that. We're going to talk about the Texas A&M preview. I'm going to give you my keys to victory because, obviously, with the game being on Friday, it won't have a long shelf life if I put a video out on Friday morning. Y'all going to be out shopping and doing your thing. So let me just retweet this thing, okay? I'm a one-man show. I'm like Heyman. So let me just retweet this. I'm the producer. I'm the host. I'm the director. I don't really do makeup. Hold on one second. Let me retweet this and let's 100% get into this because I'm excited to talk to y'all on this Thanksgiving Eve. Okay, so it's one of those situations where, as a Capricorn, a natural Capricorn, we want to be right. If you've ever known a Capricorn, you've ever had a Capricorn in your life, you will know we one of the most gots to be right kind of people. And in this situation, while I am correct, it's one of those situations where I don't enjoy being correct in this kind of situation. And so the issue is, and the challenge becomes, the one thing I said was probably going to happen was that the Arkansas win was probably not going to move the needle with the committee at all. Said it's not going to mean much. And the only thing that would matter is if Texas beat A&M. I said that for the past couple of weeks now. And when the committee came out in their rankings, I was like, damn, I was right. And then I was like, damn, I was right. Because in that one situation, I actually was hoping I might be a little bit wrong, but I wasn't. And what the committee has told us, and we're going to get into a lot on this thing, but we'll start right where we are at this moment where our feet are on the ground. The committee is basically telling you and telling us, Texas, not really feeling you. And they may be like, hey, they may be doing a it's not you, it's me kind of thing. But at the end of the day, they're saying, Texas, we ain't feeling you. And they came out with rankings last night in a deliberate manner to let it be known, not only are we not feeling you, we really are kind of making sure that if you do anything on this upcoming weekend, if you're able to pull out that win, we've kind of got you spaced out enough where no matter what happens, we're probably not going to put you in the playoffs. That becomes the reality of the situation. Like the reality of the situation is when you look at where Texas is ranked, the Texas is probably not going to be in the playoffs. And look, there's a lot of things, and we could do a lot of mental gymnastics. I've seen your boy Nash out there. He's he fighting a good fight out there. He is trying to create every scenario. But the issue is, and I like Nash, and he does a lot of good stuff on socials and then does a lot of good stuff on X. A lot of you guys do good things on socials. I don't do socials as much because it just opens myself up to too much negativity, and I try to operate in a more positive space. But the problem is, the issue is not a problem, but the issue is that when you have to create all these scenarios, if this, if that, and it's all these ifs, And it goes back to like if my uncle didn't have two things, then he'd be my aunt, and I had to clean it up because it's a morning show, especially since y'all got kids at home. When you go into that world of ifs, it's probably done. There's too many ifs at this point. So let's go look at what the committee told us last night. Okay, this is what the committee told us last night. Numbers 1 through 5, not a huge surprise. 1 through 4 wasn't a huge surprise, quite honestly. 1 through 5, not a huge surprise. Ohio State obviously maintains that number, has that number 1 spot. Indiana, A&M, that's where they are. Georgia, again, no real surprises there. Tech, of course, at that number 5 spot. I know you guys might be seeing it on the screen. The only reason I'm saying it out loud is because sometimes people have it. They have me plugged in their USB in the car as they're driving, and so they can't see the screen. So just allow me to be a little redundant, just for a second, okay? 6 is at Oregon. 6 was Oregon. 7 was Ole Miss, and that's an interesting one because the committee doesn't seem like they may penalize Ole Miss if Lane Kiffin leaves, which would be just sick work. It would be the sickest of sick work for Lane Kiffin to have his team in the playoffs. And then he's like, yeah, man, so I'm going to go to LSU. I never want to hear another coach complain about distractions or anything else. I did that yesterday. I'm not going to do that today. But I don't want to hear another coach complain about distractions, transfer portal timing, anything like that when this can happen. Don't want to ever see that again. Oklahoma at that 8 spot. Notre Dame at the 9. And Alabama at the 10. And what's very interesting is that Texas ends up being ranked 16th. And what becomes really, really interesting within that is that Michigan jumps Texas. Basically, if you have conspiracy theories, which I do enjoy those, by the way, I love me a good conspiracy theory. Boy, you want to get unstarred on something, give me a conspiracy theory. I'm like, oh, for real? Good conspiracy theory would be they basically jump Michigan ahead of Texas. So if there is a Michigan win, Michigan has an opportunity to get in the playoffs, and Michigan does beat Ohio State. And basically kind of create, and they still have Vanderbilt ahead of Texas. They have enough built in where they don't necessarily have to worry about the conversations here. Now, Michigan loses, they fall down. It kind of is what it is, right? But you have the thing, and I know everyone's kind of like, well, Vanderbilt's head of Texas, and what does that look like head to head? And I mean, I get it. The hard part, in the committee where they have to decide is, Vanderbilt only has 2 losses and Texas has 3. And so the committee has basically kind of positioned it because you got to remember, in order to get into the playoffs, Texas would have to jump from 16 all the way up to 10. All the way up to 10. Okay. So that means if they beat Texas, but then Michigan wins, you can't leapfrog. I mean, Texas beats A&M, and Michigan wins. There's not going to be a leapfrog there. Vanderbilt has Tennessee. There won't be a leapfrog there, right? So if those things happen, and there's a lot of ifs here, but all these other programs that are ranked ahead at this moment, that's a tough hill to climb for Texas. It's a really, really tough hill to climb for Texas. This is what the playoff bracket looked like. Thank you to On3. Puts out really beautiful brackets, by the way. It's the one I usually use. I examine all of them, but On3 puts out one of the easiest ones to read. But so now, under that scenario, okay, you've got Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, and Georgia as that 1 through 4. Basically, those are the ones that advance to the semifinals. They don't have to worry about playing into the playoff brackets, right? The quarterfinal stuff. They're in the playoffs, but obviously they don't have to play the first round of games, is what I'm trying to say. So then you've got Oklahoma versus Notre Dame. And again, that's all based off of where the season ended. Got Oklahoma versus Notre Dame. You would have Ole Miss versus Alabama. You would have Tech versus Tulane. And then, of course, you would have Oregon versus the U, with the other teams being out. And of course, again, remember, you got to have the ACC, you got to have all the conference champions in there. Okay, because so all the conference champions have to be in there, and then you have to have of course, that you have to have the group of 5 in there. So that's why the group of 5, Tulane, they get that 12 spot automatically. You got Miami, ACC, they'll get that 11 spot, right? So they still get in. It doesn't necessarily mean that they get 1 through 4, but that still means that they get in. That's why it's about where you look at Texas, when we flip back to that, when you look at Texas, it's not about, okay, 16, can you get to 12? Because 12 doesn't necessarily mean that you get in, right? 12 doesn't necessarily mean that you get in. 12 just necessarily means that, sorry about that. So 12, I got my old eyes up close. 12 basically means that you're close, but it matters here because, again, the ACC champ, they're the ones that get in. But in this scenario, BYU, even though they're 11, okay, they're out because they're not in that 10 spot. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to you. So essentially, you got to go into this weekend thinking, can Texas, a win against A&M, can that bump them up? And then is that enough to bump people out? Because now you start talking about a whole lot of scenarios of losses that you would need to happen. You need Auburn to beat an Alabama. Like you basically need all these teams ahead of you to lose to pop into that spot. And that's asking a lot. I mean, just that's you would need the ultimate windfall of things to happen. And the reality is, I think someone outlined this. You would need almost Tennessee. This guy named Chris Terrell put this out here on X last night. You would need Tennessee to beat Vanderbilt. We need LSU to win. You would need Auburn versus Alabama to win. Georgia Tech, where's Georgia Tech ranked? I don't know where Georgia Tech is ranked here. But essentially, you would need Georgia to lose in that. I mean, you would need Miami to lose, Notre Dame to lose, Utah to lose, Michigan lose, BYU. I mean, those kind of things. That's going to take a lot. So the reality is, unfortunately, the reality is, even if you win, you'll win. The only thing to play for is beating Texas A&M because more than likely you're not playing to get in the playoffs. The reality is this: how it's all shaped up right now is if Texas wins, they probably go to the Citrus Bowl. They probably, because the Citrus Bowl kind of gets that team that doesn't go to the playoffs. The Citrus Bowl gets that selection. So the Citrus Bowl, they take that team. And then after that, the SEC essentially assigns bowl games. Y'all remember, like in the Big 12, it was almost kind of like a draft. But in the SEC, it's different. That's why, if you remember a couple of years ago, couple of times, there may have been an opportunity for Texas to play against Texas A&M in the Texas Bowl, but the SEC shot that down because the SEC has that right to designate where they go. So at that point, if Texas loses this Friday, odds are pretty good that Texas might end up in like a Texas Bowl back in Houston. And that is the worst case scenario. Now, look, what you want to hope for, and what you want to, in the ideal world, is what you would love to happen is Texas wins, chaos happens, and actually, I don't even think Texas winning is good enough. Texas would have to win in such a convincing fashion that it would just move this committee. Because I've said it before, and it bears repeating again. I've said this for weeks. If you watch the show, you've heard me say this for weeks. The committee is judging on the eye test. And even when they said, and they started off trying to say, We ain't going to judge on the eye test. Remember, told you that's BS. Don't believe that. Because I said they're judging on the eye test. They're going to judge on the eye test. And now what they're doing, they're judging strictly on the eye test. And so the eye test, it is what it is. And so I understood what this committee was going to do, and they did exactly what I thought they would do, which is this going to be eye test. So Texas can't even beat A&M. A walk-off field goal is cool, but it's not going to be enough. At the end of the day, what they're going to really need to happen is that they would have to beat them in such a convincing fashion. They would almost have to do what Georgia did to Texas just a couple of weeks ago. And that is put that smack down. That's what it would really take, to be quite honest with you. So now we're having this conversation. And the conversation is this. Does Texas need to continue scheduling tough non-conference opponents? Is there a win in this? And that's going to be the conversation that we're going to have for a while. Now, what's interesting is many of y'all who maybe knew who I was before YouTube, right? But maybe you haven't been on Orange Bloods. And if you haven't been on Orange Bloods or you don't subscribe to Orange Bloods, you wouldn't know this. I've been having this conversation on Orange Bloods, and I write a column every Sunday and for the last 11 years. And just about every year, I have pointed out, I hate the Texas non-conference schedule. And this is before all of this. This is before all of this. I have been saying this for years. And I've been saying it for years. The main reason why is because I have always felt like Texas has put itself at a disadvantage from a scheduling standpoint when it comes to the non-conference schedule. Because back then, when we're talking about the BCS, it was only 4 teams got in, right? And so only 4 teams got in. Well, if you scheduled a tough non-conference opponent game, you already pretty much put yourself out before you got into the conference. And then you have another loss in the conference, you're pretty much done. And I had to be documenting it year after year after year. I went back to 2013 when Texas lost to Ole Miss 44-23. 2014, Texas had non-conference losses against who? BYU and UCLA. 2015, non-conference loss. It was Notre Dame, that 38-3 loss. Y'all remember that? That, as ugly as that was, my gosh. And then there was that loss to Cal, 45-44. That was here in DKR. The following year, 2016, they beat Notre Dame, but then they lose to Cal. We go to Cal. I don't know if you guys went there. Didn't know you could smoke on that little hill out there in Cal, but they sure as hell did. There was a contact high going on, right? 2017. It was that loss against Maryland. Remember that? 51-41? And then they lose against USC in 2 overtimes. 2018, the loss against Maryland happens again, back-to-back years. They beat USC that year, right? 2019, it was the loss against LSU. Great game, but there was the loss, right? And then you had the loss against Arkansas in 2021. I skipped 2020 because that was a COVID season. You got the loss against Arkansas in 2021. You had the loss against Alabama in the game that Quinn Ewers gets hurt, but probably they win. Okay. And then you had success. 2023, you go and beat Alabama. Last year, it was Michigan, right? But then this year, you lose against Ohio State. So I've always been a proponent that it doesn't make sense to put yourself behind the 8 ball or whatever you want to use, because it's putting too much pressure on yourself. And I remember in the spring meetings in May, and I asked Del Conte about that again, and he joked with me at the spring meetings in Destin. He said, Anwar, he's always giving me a hard time about our non-conference games, right? He said he's always giving, because I've been consistent with this. He's like, he is always giving me a hard time about these non-conference games. But University of Texas. We need to schedule these games, so on and so forth. And my thing was, look, the main reason these tough non-conference games got scheduled was this. It was because Texas was playing in the Big 12, and they were having a difficult time getting butts in the seat. It was hard in November to get people to come out to watch Kansas. It's hard to get them to watch K-State. It's hard to get them to watch West Virginia, right? You go down the list. Wasn't really it. These weren't games that you really, really wanted to go to. Really weren't games that you were really excited about. Most of the Big 12 schedule you were not thrilled about, right? So you told yourself, Oklahoma State to a certain degree, maybe you just tell yourself, okay, maybe you need to go to these games. And so what the administration made a decision, and they said, you know what? Let's just do this. Let's schedule these tough games, and then we can put butts in the seat. And then we also give our people something to travel to. So now they get to travel to the Ann Arbors and Ohio States, and back before they joined the SEC, Florida, Georgia, right? These were things that they put on the schedule intentionally, right? But a funny thing happens. Texas joins the SEC, and then Texas joins the SEC, and I maintain you don't need to do that. You don't need to keep playing these games now. And Chris, we still did our back and forth, and he's like, nope. And guess what? They beat them, and then they beat their chest on it. Hey, they doubled down. No, we need to do this. Sark would say it too. They want to play these tough games. They want to do all these things. It's like, all right, okay. But now you put yourself in a situation where if you lose, it definitely doesn't help you. And now the SEC is going to 9 conference games. And it really boils down to, Ketch said something on, I think it was Monday, and it's going to stick with me. And it's a thing that you and we all know the saying. But for Texas, it's got to be work smarter, not harder. If you've got 9 conference games, why in the world are you putting yourself out there for a 10th quote unquote tough game? Because 9 is already tough enough. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the future schedule. I had Tyler make up a graphic today. I want you guys to look at what lies ahead. And let me put mute real quick. My allergies is kicking up for a second. So I want you to look at this for a second. Okay, nobody needed me to hear me blow my nose. Okay, look at this. Texas is going to 9 conference games next year. And they also will be having Ohio State on the schedule. It's here. But you got Ohio State in 2026. 9 plus Ohio State. 2027 will be 9 plus Michigan. 2028 will be 9 plus a road game at Notre Dame. 2029 will be 9 plus Notre Dame on the road. Nothing set for 2030 yet. Nothing for 2031 yet. And I'm talking about the tougher teams, right? The Power 4 teams, which you're going to have to schedule Power 4 teams. So we're clear. You're going to have to schedule Power 4 teams. You can't load them all up with cupcakes, but I got them. All I know is Purdue, Northwestern, Stanford, Rutgers, Minnesota, Boston College, Duke, Wake Forest, probably Colorado. There are easier Power 4 paths than the one that Texas is choosing. So this is what it looks like. And I didn't even get to Arizona State. Like, I don't know what Arizona State's going to look like. I don't know if Kenny Dillingham is going to be there that many years from now. The odds are probably against it. He's a young up-and-coming coach. So, but even today, even when we look at it today, And again, when it was scheduled, Arizona State really wasn't any kind of force to be reckoned with. Today, you look at it and say, ugh. Now, again, how many years from now? Who knows, right? So that's the Texas future schedule. Do you need it? Do you need to work harder? Or you got to find a way to work smarter? Now, I will say this, and I'm going to admit this, because I've learned in life two things can be true. Good morning, Rodolfo. I was thinking about you the other day. I was like, where the hell's Rodolfo been? But a couple of things in life can be true. Like, because you live in the world of absolutes. If you live in the world of absolutes, it's kind of tough. Like, that leads to all the arguments, right? Everyone just, it's like, social media is toxic, and, political conversations are toxic because everybody just believes that there's one way and there's only one way. And I mean, I've learned, especially when you've been divorced more than once, you start to learn like, oh man, maybe there's this thing called compromise that I need to kind of incorporate into my life, right? And so I feel like I put this out here this morning on X before I got started. And I feel like everyone has a point. We've got to start with the main point as relates to the playoff conversation. The main point is, if you're Texas, first things first, you can't lose to Florida in a year that Florida lost to USF. That's it. That's it. To start there. I got 3 points. We'll start there. You can't lose to Florida, no matter what. No way to sugarcoat it. Don't tell me about who Notre Dame lost against or Michigan or anything like that. You can't lose to a team that only has 3 wins, that are 3-8, 2-6, and lost to USF. That loss will kill you with the committee. Second thing you cannot do, you cannot lose to Georgia by 25 points in November when all eyes are on you. You can't get curb stomped like that. That's a non-starter. That's strike 1. That's strike 2. Okay? Those 2 things cannot happen. So you talk about controlling certain things. At least you don't lose to Florida. That's 1. 2, you can't get curb stomped by Georgia. Especially 2 out of the last 3. But this season in particular, you can't get curb stomped by Georgia. And then, once you get past that, now we start talking about the non-conference schedule and working smarter and not harder. So that's where that whole conversation is. So I honestly, all your takes that I've seen, I don't disagree with any of them. But if I put them all together and make them into a playoff casserole, which, by the way, I hate casseroles, by the way. Hate them. What the hell? People love casseroles. Don't get me wrong. But I'm also kind of a little OCD-ish. I don't like my food to touch kind of person, too. So there is that, right? That again, once you start dating a Latina, your food, everything's just jumbled up. So it is what it is. All those things are the things that I believe going forward. Now, that brings me to where we really are at, which is at the end of the day, if you're Texas, the only thing you can do, and I'm making sure no super chats have come through, only thing you can do, and I'm not done yet. I am blowing past this 30-minute time limit thing today. I can tell you that much. Then again, remember when we started, I used to do like a 3-hour show. It's every day, which is like insane when you think about it. It all boils down to, for me, to this. Okay, put all that to the side. Go out there and just beat Texas A&M. Just beat them. That's it. Just beat. Here's what I say. I think the season is somewhat salvageable if you beat A&M, and even if you don't make the playoffs, but if you beat A&M and you can tell yourself, we beat A&M, we beat Vanderbilt, we beat Oklahoma, yeah, we stubbed our toe, but then it's almost like you can tell yourself, all right, we got to 9, got to go to this bowl game, let's get to 10. you can live with that a little bit. I'm not saying you're happy with it, but if there's a consolation prize, you can say, all right, okay, cool. But what you don't want to do is lose to A&M and then be 8-4. And then the conversations, the narratives, which is so much different. So much different. And look, I don't want to be a part of that. Because once we get to that, it's all bad. It's all bad. It's all bad. It's none of it's good from there. So they've got to find a way. They've got to go and just beat A&M. That's the main thing. Okay. Now, let's talk about this real quick. Let's look at the matchups and look how this thing looks on paper for this program and both programs here. I haven't done this in a couple of weeks, by the way. Sorry, I had to take a drink. My throat was getting a little dry. We compare the total offenses. You see A&M's offense is actually ranked 15th in the country. Texas is actually 72nd. Rushing offense, I mean, you know that the rushing offense was bad. I see El Presidente is asking who gets fired. El Presidente, take a look at the stats on that 100-inch television that you have in your house. El Presidente, that's my dude right there, by the way. Look at this thing. I think he's got like a 100-inch television. Like, I'm not lying though. 110th in the rushing offense. Just not good enough. Ironically, the passing offenses aren't that dissimilar. A&M is 28th. And of course, Texas is 33rd. Scoring offense, A&M does have that advantage right there. The total defense, ironically, A&M's defense is ranked a little bit higher, 16th versus 39th. From a rushing defense standpoint, Texas is a little bit better. Passing yards allowed, though. This is a fascinating one. A&M ranked 23rd. Texas at 105. Bro, Presidente, you asking questions, you're getting answers. I ain't naming names, but you can do that. I ain't trying to have nobody ticked off at me right now. I try to do all right. Turnover margin, which is what's fascinating is, and this is the interesting part, Texas is really good in the turnover margin, tied for 10th. Third down conversions, you can see not too far away. A&M's at the 49th in the country. Texas is at 62nd. Fourth down conversions. Third down conversion percentage is crazy. A&M is number one in the country in converting on third downs, which is crazy. That's sick work. Hold on, I'm getting all kinds of notifications from my team's channel as I'm trying to do this damn show. Let me mute everybody. They just it's not their fault. It's not their fault. Let me just mute everyone. The hard part is to not mute everybody and I forget to unmute it. Red zone offense, though. Not too far away, 59 versus 75th. Boy, you would love to see that Texas red zone offense a little bit higher. Red zone defense, though. Woo! Hello. A&M tied for 128th. Ain't a whole lot. They don't get much lower than that. They ain't a whole lot of more spots to go. And then you see the red zone defense for Texas is tied for 79th. You kind of go down to the rest and time of possession, so on and so forth. So on paper, Texas A&M does have a little bit of a better statistical numbers than Texas does. Before I get into my keys to victory, though, I do want to make sure I talk about the games that are upcoming this weekend. And I had Tyler put together my gosh, how small is this font? Oh my goodness. What in the hell? Okay. That's okay. You know what? He does a lot of work. I can't I'm in my art of compromise. He does so many good things. I'm not going to nitpick this -25 font that Tyler has put these things in because he does a lot of other good things. But if you are El Presidente at home, you can see this. If you are on the phone, there's no chance. There's no chance. Ole Miss, maybe unless you got one of those new iPhones. My friend I saw has one of those new iPhones. I mean, she took a picture. It looked like it was in 4K. It was crazy. You got Ole Miss at Mississippi State, a very motivated Mississippi State this weekend. You got Georgia versus Georgia Tech in a game that actually will be competitive. You've got Texas at A&M. I mean, Texas A&M at Texas. Excuse me. Don't drive out to College Station on my behalf. Stay here in Austin. Texas A&M at Texas. So that's the Friday slate. I can't really see what time that Ole Miss game is because there's some things on my screen, but y'all can see it. And then Saturday, you've got Kentucky at Louisville. None of us care. You got Clemson at South Carolina. None of us care. Missouri at Arkansas. We don't care. LSU is at Oklahoma. Doesn't really mean much outside of, if LSU wins. They knocks Oklahoma down a spot and potentially out of the playoffs because Texas could own the tiebreaker, assuming that Texas can actually beat A&M. Got Vanderbilt at Tennessee. We'll be watching. Florida State at Florida. Nobody cares. And we got Alabama at Auburn, which I think you'll watch out of curiosity factor. But at the end of the day, if Texas loses on Friday, none of the things that happen on Saturday will matter to any of us if we're just being quite honest with you. So again, it may or may not care. Okay, just may or may not care when it's all said and done. All right, so then let's get into, let me make sure I had something on the screen. Okay, no super chats have come through. Okay, perfect. All right, so let me get into my 5 keys, okay? Because, like the other day, was, people like someone like super chat. I'm like, man, I don't even see it. So, but yeah, Tyler does great. Tyler does great work. But then sometimes I'm like, hey, bro, these old eyes can't see that, man. These old eyes can't see that. People watching their stuff on the phone, people on their walks. I listen to things on my walk. I would put the YouTube stuff on. So I can't do that. I plug it into my USB. Like that's how I consume most of my stuff. All right, so let me get into my keys though. Hope everyone's getting ready for their Thanksgiving today. I don't know what y'all are getting ready to do. Get ready to go out to HEB, start the cooking, all those kind of things. But let's go ahead and get into my first key to victory for Texas. And I went into don't get Arch Manning killed, right? It's been the same thing. And hey, look, at the end of the day, Texas did a pretty good job of protecting Arch Manning. Now, I would say this. I think Arch is moving around the pocket really well. If you pay attention to it, the way Arch is moving around the pocket and just instead of standing there, statue-wise, but he's actually making his reads, his progressions. And look, it helps when you have the protection up front. But the offensive line, minus the Georgia game, has played better incrementally. And so, but again, the one thing we can see is that Texas A&M can get to the quarterback. They can do that. They can do that really well. Texas has got to find a way that they don't revert back to that Georgia game. Got to make sure that Arch Manning stays upright so he can continue doing everything that he's been doing. If he continues doing that and continues going down that path, I like Texas's chances. But that being said, you got to make sure that young man stays upright. Don't get him. I don't need him taking a bunch of hits. I don't need all that. I need him running when necessary, but I don't need him running for his life. Those are totally 2 different runs. All right. You do that, you got a good shot. Number 2, y'all noticed I've been consistent with this all year long. And you can see the difference when this thing is going. And I have said consistently that you got to get Ryan Wingo involved. And when Ryan Wingo has been involved and he's been contributing the way he has, you can see that this offense looks different. This offense looked when Ryan Wingo was involved in really the last 4 games, and I've been banging the table on Ryan Wingo's got to be involved. Like it was not anything up against Parker Livingston. It wasn't against him. I'm just like, but I need Ryan going. And when Ryan has been going, you saw what he did against Mississippi State, 5 for 184. You saw what he did against Vanderbilt. It was two for 89 and a touch. Georgia, okay, not as much, but he still had 9 receptions, okay, 62 yards. And at Arkansas, he had 6 for 81. You get Ryan Wingo involved, and I know in Texas A&M ain't going to be sitting there waiting for that damn screen pass. They're going to be sitting there waiting for that screen pass on the first play of the game. They're going to be jumping for that screen pass for the first play of the game. And look, they smart, you smart, I'm smart. Steve Sarkisian is setting up something. He's setting up something because he's been running that same play the last few weeks. He's ready for A&M to do something. Now, he may just go ahead and pass it to see what happens, or he may just go deep. Don't feel like Uncle's giving away no secrets. Because if I'm thinking it, A&M's thinking it. Sark ain't dumb. Got to get Ryan Wingo involved, though. Watch that first play and see what Sark does. I am curious. Because Sark has been setting that thing up for weeks. 3, you got to create turnovers. And this has got to be a game where if Texas is going to win, they've got to win that turnover battle. They got to win that turnover margin. And they've been able to absolutely do that. 4 has been the thing that I have said consistently. And even Sark mentioned this on Monday. And I felt like, man, I've been saying the same thing. Sark, man, you and me, Sark, we good. And you attack on defense. This defense is so much better when they are in attack mode. I'm talking about, man, when they go in attack mode, they look so good. When they sitting back there in that Russian 3 thing, and man, these teams have just been picking them apart underneath. I know you can't attack on every single play. I understand feasibly. I understand you can't do that all the time. I got that. But, man, when this defense is in attack mode and Anthony Hill is back and healthy, I don't care what the club on his hand, I don't know, whatever they put on his hand. If you can do that, I like it. And if you are Pete K, if you Sark, then you don't really have a lot to lose. You got all the world to gain. Go after them. Don't let Marcel Reed sit back there and pick you apart. Don't let you've got the guys. And I understand, do you feel like you got the DBs? Well, shoot, let's find out. Go into attack mode, because when you sitting back, we've seen it. We saw what Arkansas did just last week. Whenever Texas just wanted to sit back, what was he doing? Just doop, 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 doop. Here. He like jump up and throw. He had an interesting motion where it was almost like he was like forcing it kind of thing, like pushing it forward. It was interesting. It was completing it all the way to the end. They still scored 37 points. I don't care what you say about the fourth quarter, who was in. They still scored. Attack. Got to see that. And number 5, take the points. That's it. You guys already know. Look at everybody. Even Deborah's like, no prevent defense. Like, everybody knows, man. We sit there and watch it. We like, what are you doing? This defense looks so good when you got Colin Simmons. Well, you just tell Colin Simmons, hey, man, go kill the quarterback. Oh, he's like, oh, I could do that? Okay. And anyway, and of course, obviously, take the points, man. Take the points. And the thing is, typically I said run the ball, but I'm not trying. It is what it is as far as the running game is concerned. I don't know exactly what's going wrong with that, but if they can run the ball, that's great. But you know what? If Arch can just lead this team, John Gruden used to say for him a 3-yard pass is as good as a 3-yard run. 3 yards is 3 yards. If you get 3-3, then you're setting up a short 4th and short if necessary. Take the points is where I'm at. Man, y'all, I think I got everything covered. I think I covered everything. I hope there was no super chats that came in. Not to say I don't want a super chat, but I'm hoping I didn't miss anything. And I see you, Nate, and everything like that. Man, I want y'all to go out, have a fantastic Thanksgiving. Go out, enjoy yourself, do something special for yourself. Enjoy the family. No political conversations. Don't argue with anybody. Put all those things aside. Enjoy the holiday. Be thinking about all of y'all throughout the holiday, throughout the weekend. Enjoy the games that are on Thursday. I don't know if there's any college games on, but we'll watch the Lions, we'll watch the Cowboys, and of course, I don't know what's on Thursday night. And then we'll be back at DKR on Friday. Oh yeah, we'll have the post-game show as always. Post-game show will be this one. And of course, the guys will be up at TCH Social, so go check them out. Texas Card House Social. I always want to say THC, but it's TCH. Make sure you go check those guys out. And then, of course, we'll have the post-game show. It'll be the last one of the regular season. The last one of the regular season, unless the heavens open. And then if not, then we'll have another one in the postseason. But this is the last one of the regular season. So make sure you'll check it out. 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter will come on, unless it's like a barn burner, and then we'll wait until the game is over. But 2 minutes, and then that'll be on. So, guys, go out, have a good one. What you got? Beans, greens. What is it? Beans, greens, tomatoes, whatever. You guys go out, have a great one. Have a fantastic Thanksgiving. Greens, beans, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, hogs, whatever you name it. Y'all have a great one.